All right, let's get started. So I wanted to say good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this webinar presented by Ingram Micro, devoted to helping you expand your security practice with MDR, or Managed Detection and Response. This is one of the many webcasts that we have in our Seamless Security webcast series, devoted to helping our partners grow what the industry estimates to be a $300 billion industry by 2026. My name is Brianna Lau, Growth Solutions Lead for Seamless Security here at Ingram. And we're joined by a panel of qualified MDR providers and ISVs. We have Bitdefender on the line, Alert Logic, and Obrela, who are going to be bringing in a wealth of knowledge in helping some of our MSPs understand this growing space, which is MDR. Before we get started, I want to leave some housekeeping notes just for our guests here. We are live, and we're streaming currently on Teams webinar. So if you wish to share this webcast with a colleague, or you want to re-listen to this on demand, we will be sending an email with links to the decks of what's presented by our guests, recordings, as well as some of the quick next steps within 24 hours via email. And we are leaving some time at the end to have any questions that you might have be answered in a Q&A with our panel guests in discussion here. So please feel free to put those questions in the chat window, and we'll definitely get back to them at the end of the webcast. So just quickly talking about MDR and the rise of MDR. We know that cyber attackers have been on the rise, and constantly MSPs are looking for something to put in place with more powerful prevention, detection, and rapid responses in terms of setting up processes around this. And however, some of them do come at this point, they sit at the crossroads where they decide whether they want to build this capability in-house or make an investment with a reputable MDR provider that can help them improve their services so that they can function as an extended security team. Generally, in doing it yourself, investing in that heavy investment, MSPs can be hit with some critical security challenges, right? There's talent shortages left and right. There's alert fatigue for your team in answering and being that 24/7 SOC. There's time and expenses of being that SOC and answering and remediating to those threats on time and by SLA. And there could be perhaps a lack of focus on your end, right? So this has definitely led in terms of the popularity of Managed Detection and Response, or MDR, and outsourcing these third-gen managed security services to partners like Bitdefender and Obrela and Alert Logic, who we have positioned as solutions on Ingram's cloud marketplace to provide that level of direction and context and being able to proactively prepare to take down any of those cyber attacks that your customers are facing. When we look at just the rise of MDR, do we see this as a phase? Definitely not. All signs of MDR are looking to be that it's staying and actually growing in importance. We see that Gartner estimates that by 2030, the MDR market will reach $21.9 billion in revenue, up from $4.9 billion in 2021. With a compound annual growth rate of 18.1%, which is huge. They also estimate, Gartner predicts that by 2025, we'll see that 50% of organizations are actually going to be using MDR services in the likes of threat monitoring, detection, and response. So it only points to the importance of having MSPs be prepared for this rise of asks from their customers. So with that, understanding the growing market, understanding the options that are available to MSPs, I wanted to turn the tables to our panel guests who are here to talk about their solutions. We have 3 ISVs that we'd love to highlight. Bitdefender is one of them, Alert Logic is one of them, Obrela is one of them, that we think have a very popular product and solution to help you go to market. And so with that, I would love to pass it off to Bitdefender first. and Michael Reeves, specifically the technical director at Bitdefender, to go through the solution and help our partners understand what they have to offer. Oh, Michael, you're on mute.
Yep, I got it. Thanks, Brianna. Give me 1 second. Let me just share my screen and we'll get started. Well, thanks so much. My name is Michael Reeves. I'm a technical director here at Bitdefender, and really appreciate your time this morning. I know I only have 10 minutes, so let me go ahead and jump in. I'm going to start a little bit in architecture of where MDR fits in your security stack, because I think it's really important to understand that MDR is not the end-all be-all, but it's a critical piece of a good security architecture for you and your customers. So basically, when you look at endpoint or asset-based security, basically there's three things that you want to accomplish, and you need to do all three of these things well to really secure your customers' environments against cyber attack. So the first thing is what I call the prevention layer of security. And this is basically all of your automated security controls. Think of this as your antivirus, your anti-malware, all of your automation that's built in. And what you want in this piece of your architecture is really good efficacy. In other words, you want to be able to automatically stop 99.9999% of threats that come into your environment. And why do you want to stop it at this particular stage? Is because it's very, very quick. It's milliseconds. The blast radius for a particular effect at this juncture of the architecture is very, very minimal. Now, anything that gets through the prevention layer is going to flow into the topic that we're going to talk about today, which is detection and response. And what you want in this particular piece of your architecture is you want basically a 360-degree monitoring of your environment, whether threats come through email, whether they come through user identities that get compromised, whether they come through the network, the web, all of the attack vectors in your environment you want to be able to have covered. And then secondly, you want tools to be able to respond to those to, again, stop the attack, limit the blast radius. The difference between level 1 and this particular level is now you have humans involved. And so what we're talking about today is adding humans to this piece of the architecture, those humans being outsourced to an MDR service like Bitdefender. And response time is very critical here because, again, it has gotten past your automation layer, and now you need really good, highly skilled humans to be able to respond to those attacks. But I will, since this is a global webinar, I'm going to point out the third piece of your environment that the small, medium business, the managed service providers just don't do well at. But I'm going to encourage you to explore this particular area because it's really critical, and that's the area of security hardening. It's thinking about reducing your attack surface to make it more difficult for criminal organizations to get into your environment. Historically, small, medium business, managed service providers just don't do well in this area. So those three pieces are really, really critical for you to think about implementing a great security architecture in your environment. So I'm going to zone in on point number 2 there, detection and response. I'll tell you a little bit about what Bitdefender does in this area. We call this foundations, and basically what it's done, or what we've done, is we have Bitdefender has 2 security operations centers, one based here in the United States, one based in EMEA. Both of them are 24/7 by 365. We hire basically former military and DoD folks here in the US. We staff them in a security operations center. And what's unique about Bitdefender in this space is we have built in our SOC services or our MDR product into our solution. So with Bitdefender, there is no agent deployment. It is an automated onboarding. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. And then we provide SOC services when you turn it on within minutes. So basically, we've got it built into our product. There is no deployment. It is a monthly service. In other words, there's no long-term commitment. There is no minimum customer size, so you don't have to bring over, let's say, 500 of your endpoints where you need scale to be able to onboard this service. You can onboard a single customer in your environment that has 5 endpoints, and we will manage the security for those 5 endpoints. Again, 24/7 operation. We do things that are industry standard like threat hunting and others. The reason why we can do it and we can bring this technology to market is because we built in a lot of the operations that are part of the onboarding process. That's just a big expense for MDR providers, and they have to build that into their costs. So we've eliminated all that, automated onboarding. And when I talk about automated onboarding, let me show you what I'm talking about here. When you want to onboard one of your customers onto our service, basically what you do is you go into our Gravity Zone console. You'll see all of your customers there. You will go to the licensing section of your customer that you want to onboard onto our service. And here is how difficult it is, and I'm being facetious here. Here's how difficult it is to onboard the service. Over on the right-hand side, you tick the box that says Manage Detection and Response, and you click Save. And within minutes, it's actually within milliseconds, your customer is onboarded onto our service. Now, how do we do that? It's simple architecture. What we do, our MDR service uses the same platform to manage those threats as what you are using. So basically for Bitdefender, it is a mapping exercise. When you click save right here, your customer becomes visible into the Gravity Zone environment that Bitdefender is using in our SOC. That Gravity Zone platform has all the response capability already built into it. And then so the second thing that you're going to do, you'll receive an email from Bitdefender that says, welcome to MDR. You get it literally within minutes. You'll set up 2 things in that portal. You'll set up who you want Bitdefender to call if we respond to an action in your customer account. So you can have your customer here. You can have your staff here. It doesn't matter. You tell us who you want us to call in the event of an incident. And the second thing that you're going to do that's right in the console is set up what we call pre-approved actions. In other words, you pre-authorize Bitdefender to take certain actions in your customers' environments. If you don't want Bitdefender to take an action on your behalf, you basically untick the box. So basically you tell us whether or not you want us to isolate a host or stop a process or block an IP address, or if you want us to, what was that? There was a question? Okay.
No.
Whether or not you want us to reset a user's credential because their user identity has been compromised, or whether you want us to kill an email directly out of Office 365 or G Suite or whatever email platform you're using. So you tell us what actions we are authorized to do. That is the setup. It literally takes less than 5 minutes to onboard our service with one of your customers. You can, again, no customer minimum size. There is no long-term contract. It is a monthly service, so you can turn it on the 5th day of the month. And if you do not like the service on the 25th day of the month, you turn it off. You get charged 1 month for the service. So no long-term contracts, no agent deployment, automated onboarding. You basically take 2 steps to tell us who we're supposed to call and what pre-approved actions we are allowed to take. That's basically our service in a nutshell. Again, you are adding humans into your security architecture to take responsive actions on your behalf. Our product's called Gravity Zone Cloud Security for MSPs. Managed detection and response is built into it. Want to thank you so much for your time. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Alert Logic now.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Give me 1 second and get this fired up. Fantastic. Well, thank you all for your time today. I know it's short, so we'll jump right in. I want to start off with some just quick facts around our product. So Alert Logic's MDR professional product is our flagship MDR service. It helps protect your business critical assets with 24/7 threat detection. We have incident management. We actually have a 15-minute triage SLA should something occur. MDR concierge support, vulnerability scanning, and the list goes on, right? All of those assets and those pieces feed into our global SOC that's staffed with over 150 experts in security and information technology disciplines. They combine the Alert Logic MDR platform and purpose-built SOC tooling with decades of experience to give you a product that is truly industry-leading. This slide has a couple of different things on it, but one of the piece that I want to hone in on here for all of you today is our co-sell model. Security can be difficult, right? It's not something you can just jump in and become an expert in overnight. You can't just get a certification and be an expert. It's just not the reality of our world today. Security is complex. Security can be difficult. And because of that, a lot of partners and a lot of people that we speak with will actually walk away from those security conversations, specifically those around MDR. It's another 3-letter acronym. We live in acronym soup all day, every day. There's another 3-letter word, and it means something different, right? Many of our partners come to us and talk with us, and when we start going through our co-sell motion, they get really excited. And it's because you don't need to walk away from that security business. We can help enable you to sell not only within your IaaS but in your environment, but your security offerings like an MDR as well. The bottom line is there's no reason to walk away from security, and we're here to help you. Our co-sell motion allows your reps to ride shotgun with us on opportunities that you bring. So if you have your sales reps come to you and say, hey, I think I might have something here. I'm not really sure what to do with it. They mentioned MDR, but I don't know if I feel comfortable doing this, or I don't know if I have the expertise. That's perfectly fine. Our reps will partner with you and go to market with you. We'll have those hard conversations. We'll help guide your customer through the nuances of what an MDR product is and help you sell that deal. The other thing that sets us apart is our customer success managers, or our CSMs. Typically, and I know at Ingram, they do a very good job of service reviews. So they are the exception to this, but typically you'll have an SVR that's a health check, but it's, hey, do you like the product? Okay, great. Have a great day. And then you don't hear from that individual for another 3 months. Part of our SVRs is taking a look at the environment and making sure that we're bringing to you all of the possibilities and all of the different assets that we can provide to help you be more successful. It's more of a react and less of a, or it's more, proact and not react. And in those SVRs with you and your customers, we've seen an additional and proven results in both upsell, reduced churn, as well as increasing in renewals. The other thing that I like to talk about when it comes to our platform and our product is we're truly a cloud environment. We can operate in just about anything: Google Cloud, Azure, AWS, on-prem, hybrid. But this year we have absolutely doubled down with AWS. We've been partnering with them since 2011. We were one of their first security ISVs responsible for protecting their AWS customer workloads. Actually, you can go into the AWS partner website right now. If you type in MDR, our name is going to be the first one that pops up. We collect logs directly from AWS for storage and analysis. It's a lightweight agent that detects a wide array of attacks methods for security threats. And as I said previously, we are a top ISV partner for them within that space. This is a few key differentiators. These are some other people that we go up against and we talk about a lot. The two that I like to talk about the most and where we see the most response time from is our 15-minute SLA. So should something happen, we have in our contract, and it is contractual to our partners and our customers, that we have to respond within that time period. I believe the last time we went through and ran that, it was around 4 to 5 minutes. So it's much shorter than that ceiling, but that ceiling is there. The other big takeaway from our product and from our standpoint is our 1% less than false positive rate. I have small children. I'm sure some of you on the call do. We like to read a bunch of different books, and right now, the one that my boys are interested in is The Boy Who Cried Wolf. So good life stories, but also some good takeaways for us on this call as well. If your MDR product is telling you that something is bad, and it's not actually bad, after you turn it off 2 or 3 different times, you may turn the product off altogether. Get rid of it, right? Buy something else. So that less than 1% false positive helps us ensure with our customers that not only is the product tuned to your environment, but making sure that we're not giving you flags that you absolutely don't need. The vulnerability scanning and configuration management is another key piece. The configuration, as I mentioned earlier, we can tune directly to your environment and make sure that you have everything that you need in order to be successful. The last thing I'll say on this slide is this: all of our software is homegrown. We've been doing this for over 21 years. So we did not go out and purchase different pieces and parts of a company and an environment to piece together our solution. Because of this, we are able to be very flexible within your environment and be able to ingest many different logs. Names that come to mind off the top of my head: Palo, Fortinet, Sophos, and the list goes on. Those are just a couple that I was dealing with recently. But we can ingest logs from almost any endpoint or security provider into this software, because that's what those companies do best. And what we do best is MDR. So instead of asking you to rip and replace in order to use our product, we ask you to continue to use what you're happy with. Allow us to ingest those logs and then provide the feedback that our tool can provide. So it's not a rip and replace. This is an add to your current practice. This is an add to your customer's current environment, and just another layer of protection to ensure to your customers that you are able to provide them with a best-in-class security service and able to close any gaps that they might see in their environment. I know we're running up on time. I do want to be respectful of that. I appreciate everybody for the time today. If there is any questions after this, we're going to be really excited to talk to you about that. And with that, I will turn it over to, well, let me stop sharing, and then I will turn it over. Okay.
If you bear with me, let me switch into full mode. Well, I'm glad that the speakers so far, they've described the different aspect of the MDR service, so we're not getting the same messaging, all of us, and that keeps the conversation interesting. So hi everybody, I'm Vlasis Theodore, Sales Channels and Partners Director at Obrela. Prior to this role, I was Cloud Sales Specialist at Google Cloud. And I'll be discussing a different view, a different perspective on MDR, the go-to-market strategy. And my colleague Dale will follow through with what we do, how we do it, and who we are. So moving on, the the market opportunity, and the latest Gartner report that I'm going to discuss is, and by the way, that report is available on our site to download at no charge. The latest Gartner report describes a market need for a managed detection and response service. And in it, you'll find that half of businesses plan on using MDR by 2025 in order to keep up with known and unknown cyber threats that threaten their business continuity and brand. That's 50% of the market. That's a bold claim, and it doesn't just present a major new revenue stream for channel, but it also shows channel the way to remain relevant with the customer base. And I've summed up some prospect profiles that we and our partners that have adopted the Obrela's MDR service in their portfolio have been successful with and are actually launching sales initiatives today as we speak. And please note that this is just a subset of the target profiles, as every organization, regardless of size or industry, is a potential target for cybercrime. But from a go-to-market perspective, where are the quick wins? When is the low-hanging fruit? We find that these profiles do show shorter sales cycles, since they do have business continuity requirements or data security requirements or compliance and regulatory requirements that they need to meet. And we find that most of these organizations may already have a C-level executive support for a cyber budget, which is great for all of us. They may already have a CISO who wants to build a roadmap where we can wedge in. Again, that works for all of us. Or they may just be early in the cyber maturity roadmap, and they might just have an internal IT/cyber team who's seeking guidance as to where their next steps should be. Again, this is great for all of us because we can collaborate, we can co-sell, and go at this with a consultative approach. And this is, what we all want to do. So in any case, these profiles are willing to discuss their cybersecurity roadmap with us, and that by us I mean the partner and Obrela. And if we move away from industries and we look at segments, I find that corporate and enterprise still struggle to keep up with the ever more sophisticated and creative cyber attacks. They struggle because they're swamped by the sheer volume of the daily security logs they need to monitor. When the daily volume of logs is in gigs, any IT team will struggle to keep up. And struggling to keep up means attacks may slip through. And it's not just the volume of logs. Organizations may still struggle because they need analysts and developers to code the specific rules and use cases that allow them to meet specific risks that they need to address, or regulatory and compliance. So when we move up in over 300 seats, 500 seats, 1,000 seats, 3,000 seats, we're looking at corporate and enterprise accounts that need a tailored or onboarding approach. And they might need specific use cases that somebody needs to develop those. They might have a different versions of SAP or Oracle. They might have a bunch of different firewalls. They might merge with another business and have all kinds of different assets being in the topology. That's where a partner with 13 years worth of experience in developing those collectors, in developing those and ingesting all those logs from all kinds of different devices really works out. So this is why when your customers buy an off-the-shelf SIEM through your sales teams, and they might even get an endpoint solution as well, it's great. But at some point, when we move up the 500 seats, the default settings and the default use cases that come with it, that they're all bundled, may not be enough. And what that means is that if things start slipping following that investment they've made in buying a SIEM and buying the endpoint solution, if things keep slipping, that customer is might churn at the end of the term. And if we look at the smaller sub 300 seat segment, which is the SMB, and that's as mentioned earlier by the fellow speakers, there's less resources, less smaller budgets, limited know-how, but that's a massive, massive segment. So this is the opportunity we have through Ingram to scale by leveraging the Ingram's capability to transact and deploy with ease. And this is, if we look at the Obrela is agnostic when it comes to OEM vendors, technology providers. We can ingest from any device, but we have focused on the Microsoft side of things because we see the digital transformation that's driven through the Microsoft stack, and the fact that Microsoft's success is very successful in completing their stack with SKUs that are bundled with enterprise-grade cybersecurity features. And then if we can leverage Obrela's experience with that Microsoft stack and in designing the most complex cybersecurity solution, then the deal structure becomes clear. The Ingram partners owns the customer, and they can now cross-sell sophisticated endpoint solutions of their choosing, or they may just not rock the boat and keep the customer's investments in place, and then they can just add a fully managed OPEX-based white-labeled MDR layer on top. 24/7, 365, 15-minute SLA, a hard SLA coded in the proposal and the contracting. So in the case of the Microsoft stack, there is an existing customer base, and they might have low-end SKUs like Frontline Worker 365. Then we can sell them the Defender ATP SKUs. So there is a lot of cross-sell opportunity. We have a flexible billing model, and when it comes to large projects or RFPs, we're here to work with you and work on that custom tailored pricing to ensure that both of us remain competitive, even though we're selling an enterprise-grade product. And now I'm going to thank you for your attention. I'm going to pass the mic to my colleague, Dale. So I'll stop sharing from my end and allow my colleague to pass the mic to Dale.
Thank you very much, Vlasius. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a pleasure and an honor to be part of this sort of audience who obviously know the space very, very well. I've been in the security business over 25 years, coming through sort of vendors, services teams, etc. And I'm delighted to be part of the Obrela team leading the channel business working with Ingram. Okay, Obrela is an organization headquartered in London, corporate headquartered in London, established in 2010. Okay, just some key points here. If as a partner or a prospective partner, you're thinking of working with us in Ingram, basically we're in the Gartner report for service for MDR providers. We've been there for the last 4 years. We're a global partner of Microsoft. We're an IBM partner. We've got 250 customers in over 20 countries. I heard one of the previous speakers talking about analysts. As a partner, you can get access to our resource pool, which is basically over 150 skilled analysts, L1, L2, L3. And typically we have a 9-minute average response time. And I heard, similar figures being quoted from I think the Alert Logic team, but it's a pleasure to be on the same platform as these guys. Just some of the sort of credentials, why we think you can partner with us and have faith in us. What we actually offer is basically we can provide security over every customer's vertical. Every vertical the customer is in, we can offer them with our platform, user protection, general IT protection, multi-cloud environment protection, even OT, which is we see as a growth market, looking at critical infrastructure as well. And they can even start with endpoint protection as well. So everything that you see there in blue are services that your organization as a partner of Ingram and Obrela could take to market. And that's all backed up with our SOC as a service, 24/7 coverage, our threat hunting team, blue team support, and incident response team. So these are we call them our packaged offerings that you as resellers can take to the market. Now what I've actually shown here is our IP is the areas in blue here under the Swordfish platform. This is where we've incorporated sort of industry standard technology, but put a people and processes wrapper around that. Okay, so we believe that our packages here, such as MDR Core, which is the ideal starting point, as Vlasius mentioned there. If you have Defender, it's a great way to start on the endpoints. Okay. MDR Cloud, it's a great complementary services to offer to any of your Sentinel customers. And MDR Infra is where the customer's got a hybrid environment, cloud and on-prem. We can manage that as well, or you could manage that as a partner. Okay, moving to the right-hand side, we've got more nuanced solutions for operational technology, which is like, as I say, critical infrastructure. We're very big in the maritime space for MDR Vessel, which is a combination of OT and IT, and we've got add-ons for MDR Brand. But what you're actually getting as a potential reseller is access to our IP, our knowledge, and because we've been in the business over 12 years, we believe we can help you very, very quickly go to market. Okay. As I say, security over everything. We've use cases in each one of these verticals here. Picking up on the business case, and Vlasius touched on it. So basically what the partners that we are typically approaching through the Ingram team are aspirational MDR providers, people who want to move into the space and they have the dilemma of should I buy or should I build? Maybe existing MSSPs, they've started, they've been early adopters, but they want to consider complementing what they have without any additional investments. They know the pain that they have to go through. And I've really listed them here, but they could even be security resellers, okay? They could even be anybody who's aligned with a Microsoft security stack or even cloud migration partners, okay? So we have quite a broad spectrum of partners that we can actually assist and go to market. Some build versus buy considerations, and Brianna touched on them. Do you have the expertise? Do you have the skills? Have you looked at the cost? Do you have the scalability? I won't go in them because I think it's quite a learning panel, and I'm sure some of these questions will come up here. What's the business case for the channel? Basically, you can get access to our enterprise grade MDR solution. Okay, we're backed by Gartner. We have references in each one of the verticals. We can scale from endpoints to enterprises. Okay, we can work on the Microsoft environment. We can work on the on-prem environment, potentially IBM. There's a business case for working with Microsoft partners because our solution can be based on Azure. It drives, Azure consumption and the Microsoft security licenses. And even we can help partners or the customers go through the full Sentinel adoption and the onboarding of systems. Okay, so we're willing to take a customer from where a greenfield today, they actually just acquire the licenses and we can provide the full MDR services around these licenses. Key here, it's a no investment, and this is just to emphasize the points Vlasius made here. It's no investment, it's a very fast route to market, and in some respects it could be seen as a try before you buy for channel partners. If you really want to get into this, don't build it just now. Come to somebody like Obrela, see how we can work together with Ingram and see what the customer demand is, and it can be based on OPEX, okay, very flexible pricing that we can offer. And it's also a sticky solution. What we have seen is some existing service providers have had their customer base eroded because they weren't able to provide security services. With our MDR solution, they can. Why Obrela? We don't just manage threats, we manage risks, we predict, we don't just detect, so we try and prevent the threats happening. We can offer security over everything, and it can be a SaaS model or it can be an on-premise model. Key things, if you want to partner with us, a number of ways you can do that. You can, maybe bring an opportunity as a referral partner. You can start maybe as a reseller working through the Ingram channel ecosystem, just resell the service. Or if you're already offering a managed service, you can basically offer our platform as a white labeled service within your own service. But everything's available through the Ingram CMP. Next steps. Please consider expanding your services to include our MDR. You can, basically take out of the box 24/7 surveillance, 15-minute response. On average, it's about 9 minutes. basically we've got all the content that we've amassed over the years, and there's the threat hunting team that's constantly refreshing that. We can do ticketing systems integration if you're already providing services. And key here, because we're a managed detect and response solution, there's a human triage element. So we have a human interaction with our end customers. They can be via the partners, etc., or they can be direct to the end customers. But we provide working with a solution to work with the end customer until the basically incident has been resolved. Okay. Our mission is really we keep your business in business, or we keep your customers' business in business. And with that, I'll hand back to Brianna.
Thank you, Dale. So with the remaining 20 or so minutes that we have left, we wanted to kick off the panel discussion aspect of this call. We already have a hands up in terms of a question that we have for our panel team here. And if you want to go off mute.
Yes, hello, Brianna. Thank you guys for lots of information. And this is exactly what I was looking for days ago, and I reached out to Brianna. I just have a question to all the providers now for MDR. We are looking for MDR provider that supports also Microsoft Defender and Microsoft security tools, but not only monitors the environments of the customer, but also intervenes. So remediation and not just giving recommendations of the to handle with the incidents, but also give the really intervening in the and reacting to the threat coming into the environment. So I have been talking to other vendors. It's only monitoring. So I don't know, guys. Maybe one of you is doing this exactly.
Can I take that question, Brianna?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so that's a very good question. Because the solution we offer is managed detection and response, what you're really referring to there, I mean, is the response element. Okay, so we have L1, L2 analysts that will do the detection and they'll look at the alerts, but we also have level 3 analysts and forensics teams. And when the alert has been escalated, it's the L3 analysts and forensics teams that engage with the customer to basically address why the problem happened and ensure that it doesn't happen again. Okay, so this human triage element really complements the technology. Does that sort of answer your question?
Also, if I can add, Dale, yes, this is part of an EDR service, which is a flavor of MDR. Microsoft is part of our stack. So if they have Defender ATP or they have E3 or E5, we can certainly do the remediation there. So let's give you an example where a laptop has been compromised, and you want us to automatically cut it off the network. You don't want us to call you if that happens. For example, it's a VIP, it's a CFO, and his laptop has been compromised. You don't want us to start looking for people and calling and wasting minutes. You can set up on the rules of engagement that we agree upon during the onboarding process. We can agree on specific scenarios and how we act. So that's the well-defined very early in the onboarding process, the rules of engagement, and that laptop will be cut off the network. Having said that, if we're monitoring all kinds of assets, and let's say it's a firewall and VPN credentials have just leaked out, we'll let you know that the VPN, somebody with valid VPN credentials logged in, but he's moving suspiciously horizontally, vertically. We think this is a threat. And if we identify that as a threat, we can't shut down a VPN on your firewall because we don't know the partner, the reseller partner who really set up the servers and the firewalls. They know what's going on, but we have an inventory of the assets. We know the topology, but we can't take the responsibility to shut down a VPN because we don't know if there's any critical processes using that VPN. So yes, the answer is a definitive yes. but we need to look at every case because the rules of engagement can get quite complex.
A lot of the customers that we talk to don't actually want automated actions. They want an expert to look at it and ensure that that's the action that they require. And then we personally we've got a couple of options that we'd probably lean on for an Azure environment or a Defender environment. We can either isolate hosts or disable users in Azure AD or on-prem AD. We can also block at perimeter devices. And then there's a lot that goes into the detection in Azure as well, and making sure you have north, south, east, west traffic analysis, as well as log analysis, and have kind of a defense in-depth approach. So we're also ingesting logs out of Defender and incorporating that into our modeling to detect threats.
Okay, so in case of vertical or deeper threats, you would I think you would contact the reseller, for example, and work together with him to remediate this if it's going to resources where you don't have any idea about the infrastructure.
That can be pre-agreed. Yeah, can be pre-agreed. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was a great question, Amit. If anyone else also has questions, we can take them here, but just to get us kicked off, our guests here, how seamless is it for MSPs to get started in utilizing your MDR services? We've touched on try before you buy, and I know there's been some comments around the ease of just the min endpoints that you can use to get started. Maybe, Michael, I'll let you kick it off. How is it in terms of the onboarding experience for partners with Bitdefender?
Yeah, great question. And I'll tie it into the question previously as well to give you kind of the full context. So our one requirement for the Bitdefender MDR services, you're using our endpoint. Our endpoint's really critical. So if you're on Microsoft, you're on Sophos, or you're on Trend, or any other platform, we don't apply in that particular case. The reason why is all of our automation for onboarding is built directly into our single agent that you put on a device. So the onboarding process, believe it or not, literally takes less than 5 minutes. We normally do it on a call. Or you can also onboard it via API. So it's a completely automated onboarding process. If you have our agent deployed in your customers' environments, you either via an API call, onboard or tick that box that's called MDR Foundations, or you go into Gravity Zone, click the box. We usually do this on a 30-minute call. Usually a partner will say, hey, they don't believe us the first time. So normally we get on a call. It's usually a 30-minute call, and 25 of those minutes is chit chat. So we'll get on a call. I'll explain the service to them. And then we'll say, do you want to do it? And they'll say yes. And they'll tick the box while we're chatting. They'll get the automated email. They log in. I look at their console. I say, okay, put in your emergency contacts, put in your pre-approved actions. They may have questions on what those actions actually do. And then we're done, and we are chitty-chatting for the next 10 or 15 minutes. So it's built to be automated. But again, our one requirement is they're using, the customers actually have our agent deployed. Once that is accomplished, onboarding our SOC services is completely seamless and can be done without any human intervention. You can literally onboard it via API calls. So that's the Bitdefender onboarding experience. We do cover XDR telemetry as well. So we have hooks into Azure AD, so we can manipulate user accounts if you so desire. We can kill email. And then we also do networking, so we can prevent exfiltration of data and all of those things. Those are all built into our agent infrastructure, but it does require the Bitdefender agent. So.
Sorry, can I ask something quickly?
Yes,
Sure.
of course.
Yeah. So first question is, again, I don't want to sound rude or idiot at the same time, but there are so many MDR solution out in market right now. Like you just touched upon, Michael, right? There are Sophos, there are Microsoft Defender, there are Komodo, there are, I mean, you name it, and you will probably take whole day to do it, right? So there are two questions there. First question is, whatever route you choose, right? For example, we can have a trial with Defender, and then with Alert Logic, then with Obrela, and so forth and everything. And then finally you make your mind that this looks right for whatever reason. Then first the question is technical question. Do you mean that you need to decide one and stick to one and not try three different things? Or from a sales point of view, it's okay, right? You as an MSP, we can have three as in our offering, right? And depending upon what works with the customer, you can say, okay, here's A with this pros and cons, and customers now I don't like, oh, what about B, right? And this has got this options and pros and cons, right? That would fine. But when you're selling it to a customer, at that point in time, you can only have one MDR in place, isn't it?
I would say typically you would only have one MDR to manage a customer, so an MDR per customer. But what we can offer with the Obrela platform is we have variations of the MDR service. Okay, so basically, you could maybe use our Sentinel-based solution to manage the cloud environment. You could use the IBM-based solution to manage the on-prem environment, and maybe the Defender solution to manage the endpoint environment. And it can be a mix and match at the back end, but it would typically be just, once you had decided what's the best fit for the customer, you would go with that.
Yeah, but you can have more than one services as an MSP, right? So when you go to customer, you can say, well, we sell Sentinel-1 and we also sell Bitdefender and we also sell Sophos. There's nothing wrong with that. Then depending upon what fits where, you sell that to the customer.
I would say, or at least from an alert logic standpoint, there's nothing contractually that states, and I think the question you're asking is, if you decide to sell alert logic today, must I only sell alert logic and that's the only thing that exists? I can't speak for everybody else, but I know for us, it's not a contractual, you cannot sell Bitdefender as well. Does that help?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, because as an MSP, you don't want to get into that sort of zone. So perfect. So that's one thing done. Then second part to the question was, at one point in time, you should only have one MDR, otherwise they will conflict with each other, isn't it? Like having Sophos and Alert Logic together in the same machine is not a good idea.
So it depends. Go ahead, Jason. Yeah.
We integrate with a lot of different MDRs and we'll ingest data from those. So we actually understand and parse over 6,500 different types of logs, but we're also looking at network vulnerability information and layering in inputs. So if there's another kind of an endpoint like EDR type tool or security tool that you already have value from, we can ingest logs from that and just provide a single pane of glass for that additional information. It really depends on you as an MSP, and I hate answering what depends, but in your capabilities and what you're going to be doing on top as well too. So if you just want to resell and never talk to the customer again, that's one thing. If you want us to escalate every incident to you and work through forensic investigations or response plans with you as an MSP, that's another. And at least with Alert Logic, we've got flexibility to deal with all of those. I think it's like 50-60% of our business is through partners now. So we're very used to working with partners in both incident response and enablement.
Yeah.
And
No,
another,
sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I can add one other thing. I think the detection piece, you can have multiple partners involved, but the response piece, I would definitely have the response piece with one of those partners, and that all of the partners understand the roles that they're playing within the response piece. that's how you might want to do that architecture.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to clarify. The exactly same
Yeah.
way Michael mentioned it, because on the SOC side of things, you can identify the threats, but when it comes to understanding the features, the benefits, the black box, what's inside the black box for every different agent that's deployed out there, that's an issue. So the SOC, if you really want to get into remediation, the SOC analysts need to know the ins and outs of that technology stack that you're using. So you can collect from everything and triage, but if you're asking for a remediation, that has to be part of the technology stack for that MDR provider.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Cool. So one more question, then I'll let others also speak. You said we can get started. So we have recently started working with Sophos, to be honest with you, and we are exploring the Microsoft Defender side of things because it's coming as a pre-built, pre-configured stuff within the Office Premium license. So we've not started exploring, but we are planning to. Now, Sophos has got a very straightforward route of activating it, like you said, in its 5-minute job and it will be activated. That's fine. What about the NFR licenses? Do you guys provide NFR license so that we can play in-house internally just to see what it is, how it works, how it behaves?
I'll take that. So we don't have NFR for our MDR service. However, you can work that out with your distributor, and basically we will waive the first month fee for you on the back end from a billing perspective. So we look at NFRs, and there's no long-term NFRs. And with Bitdefender, primarily because you have human resources, which are pretty, they're very expensive resources in the chain. So the idea of, hey, as a partner, I can have MDR service for my internal use for a year, just is not going to happen. So, but if you want to try out the service, now most partners, when it comes to our service, because there's no long-term commitment, basically they can onboard their own environment, which is usually, upwards of maybe 50 or 60 endpoints. We can waive the fee for a month to do that. But typically, when you talk about the cost of our service, which I don't get into pricing or whatever, but I've never had pushback where they'll say, oh, I don't want to pay that cost for 1 month. So it's pretty nominal, and to try out a service that they're basically their security architecture is going to depend on. Normally very few customers or partners in our ecosystem actually take us up on the free month service. They usually just pay for it because it's a pretty nominal fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that a standard across all MDR provider like Alert Logic and Obrela as well? No NFR licenses. You use it and you pay for a month and get it refunded, is it?
I mean, typically we'd work with you on a case-by-case basis, maybe look at a pilot situation, okay? But we don't have NFR licenses at Obrela. But we're willing to work with you. Look at the opportunity.
Same with Alert Logic. Look at the opportunity. We don't have NFR licenses, but we can work something out.
Okay. So the only problem is, I mean, again, it is what it is, but generally what happens, we being an MSP, we have got our own technical team at least to do the level 1, level 2 sort of thing. Secondly, before we sell, we want to know what we're talking about, right? So we implement, install it in our test environment, just mess around, and many times we make it a bigger mess and we have to come back to you asking, oh, help us, or we'll have to format everything and restart again. But the point is, once we have played with it, we know bits and bobs about it to at least talk to the customer, right? If we're just selling it as his sales guy, at our level, it does not cut through because people say, what are you talking about? And I don't know, I've just got a new piece of software. I'm just trying to sell it through you, right? That doesn't work for us. So from that perspective, if you've got some licenses to play with, whether you do it as a first month trial and then don't charge and we can cancel, or you can give it or whatever, it helps. That's all I have to say.
Question for you. How many endpoints are you talking about in your test environment? I'll just give you an idea.
No. So when our own test environment are 5 or 6.
Okay,
5,
so
6,
you can probably go to Starbucks and pay more money than
Oh,
the
okay.
monthly cost for that service.
Oh, okay. I know where you're going with that. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what
fair
I'm
enough.
talking about. All
Yeah,
right.
okay. Cool. Yeah, that's good to know. But
Yep.
anyways, all these prices and all, we can find it on the Ingram cloud stuff, right? We can log in there and
Yep.
see every. Okay, cool.
Exactly,
Perfect.
exactly. Yeah. If you are interested in learning more about some of these ISV's particular offerings, get a one-on-one call set up. We did have a survey that went out just to gauge where you wanted to have that start of the conversation. Otherwise, questions generally around, what these providers have to offer, you can submit them to seamless-security@ingrammicro.com, and we can help transfer any of your inquiries to the right teams and support you in that motion forward. I'd really like to thank our panel discussion speakers. Thank you, Bitdefender, Alert Logic, Obrela, for your time today. Thank you to our attendees for your time as well. And again, thank you so much for attending, and we'll be happy to hear from any of your questions. Thank you all.
Thanks, Brianna. Thanks, everybody.
Brianna.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a
Yeah,
good day.
thanks.
Bye.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, guys.